Hi, Patrick here. Have Cheetah Willview, and it is time for Tubi Tuesday. Here on a cold and cloudy Michigan day. Um, so Tubi Tuesday, we started off our new series last week. We're covering Tucker's Witch from 1982. It starred Tim Matheson and the lovely Catherine Hicks. I'll probably be saying the lovely Catherine Hicks every single show that I do, because she was one of my favorites. And honestly, who didn't have a mad crush on her back in the day, or still do? Many of you guys remember her from the original Child's Play. She did the original Child's Play, and she did this very fun series. Unfortunately, it did not do very well for CBS, and they only ran 13 episodes. Um, and and even that was an interesting show, an interesting story about how the show was cast. Last week I had mentioned that for the first show I showed that I talked about the show was cast with Tim Matheson and Catherine Hicks, but they were not the first. They were not the first picks. Um, Art Hindle, an actor named Art Hindle, was actually was going to play Rick and Rick Tucker, and he was going to be joined by none other than Kim Cattrall. But CBS got cold feet about using Kim Cattrall because she had done Porky's, and she had done a very memorable scene in there. Her character was name was Lassie, and she was pretty sexually open, and there's some comedy derived out of that. But it was a raunchy movie, and they didn't really want her to go from that to a sort of light-hearted police, detective caper. So they said that uh, they couldn't use Kim Cattrall, and so once that happened, Art Hindle he quit. He said, nah, I'm gonna pass on this. So the producers went to their next team up, and that was Tim Matheson, who everybody remembers from Animal House, and then of course Catherine Hicks came aboard. And quite honestly, as much as I love Kim Cattrall, and who doesn't, I'm a big Kim Cattrall fan, but I don't think she would have actually done very well in the part. Um, Art Hindle, I don't know his work enough. I do know Kim Cattrall's, and I think she's lovely, but she just wouldn't fit. Um, so I think they made the right call in having Catherine Hicks come in and play Amanda Tucker, and that's how both these stars came upon the show. All right, for this episode here today, the second episode of the series, and again, it only ran for 13 episodes, and that's a real shame, isn't it? Because that's that's how it was back then. Many of you who are actually seeing this will probably be hearing about this for the first time, or weren't really around back in the 80s when TV was down to only had three networks: ABC, NBC, and CBS. Most of the people who are watching this have tons of channels now all over the place, but back then those are the only three networks we had. Plus, we had independent stations. So, for the second episode of Tucker's Witch, which you can see on Tubi, you can see this show for free, which is I highly recommend you do. Um, and It was funny because last week I actually got a couple of notes from folks saying how much they really enjoyed the A Man Called Hawk series, and thank you for that. I really do appreciate hearing that. I think it was a great show. It needed a chance to really, to gain some legs, and that's why I like talking about some of these short run series, because you look at them and you say 13 episodes and they got canceled, so they must not have been very good. And often the case, that's not the case. A lot of it has to do with how much the network promoted them, if they moved them around on the schedule, because networks did that a lot. In fact, it happened to this show. A lot of times a network would put on a show like Tucker Switch, and I mean, you had to hit it the ground running. You really needed a chance to really build up an audience. Um, Tucker Switch only it only ran for 6 episodes before the network took it off. It didn't gain any ground in 6 weeks, but you can't really build an audience really in 6 weeks. It takes time. It takes time to build an audience. Um, and not only that, but they after they removed it, it didn't come back until the springtime, and then they came on and basically what they call a burn off, which is when a network has unaired episodes of a show that they no longer believe in, and but they still paid for it, so they're gonna get their money's worth. So what they do is they'll put on the TV series that even though it's Dead Man Walking, they'll still play it out. Uh, and sometimes lightning will strike. Sometimes a show will come back and do reruns, especially back in the 80s and early 90s. Like I said, when there wasn't before any streaming was going on, before any cable shows were going on, and you could actually catch lightning in a bottle and make your ratings go higher with summer repeats. But networks don't do summer repeats anymore. Now, when their shows end for the season, they turn around and they have alternative programming. So there's a lot of issues that worked against Tucker Switch that prevented it from being a really popular show. So we got it from Tubi now. So after all that preamble, let's talk about this episode. So this is the second episode of the show, and it's called Big Mouth. And in it, someone is trying to knock off gossip reporter Jewell Porter, and Rick and Amanda must find out who it is before it's too late. Ooh, sounds pretty enticing. So yeah, Jewell Porter is a gossip reporter. At the time, her character was patterned off a very famous gossip queen back at that time named Rona Barrett. And what she did was she went on the air and she talked, she did Hollywood gossip, and people really don't like that too much. So and we see that this dastardly character has broken inside of her home, and I should say slipped into her home and left a king cobra in her shower. So our lady comes in here and she opens the shower, and I don't know how she didn't get struck. The snake was a little sluggish, I guess, but she saw the cobra, but she was able to get out of there before she got bit. But that, of course, leads her to, big concern. So we see Rick and Amanda Tucker. They're doing some bannering, including finding out that their trash is being mauled, and of course Deacon the cat is telling Amanda this. Deacon is Amanda's familiar, and so she finds out things from the cat, and they find out that someone's been messing with their trash, and then they hear a noise in the room and in the house, and they find out it's a raccoon. A raccoon's been doing it. That's a cute little side story. They actually slid 3 stories into this one episode, which really helped. The Jewell Porter episode, the story, finds Rick not liking her, but then getting a phone call from her asking the couple to investigate who is terrorizing her. And of course, he says, of course I'll come down there. So they go down there to help Jewell Porter, who's terrorizing her. And we got our usual suspects. We got the husband who has an affair going on. We have the daughter who is basically living on her mom's shadow, and she's hiding a secret from her mother that she doesn't want to know about. And then we have Jewell Porter's assistant, Darren Childs, who's aiming to take over her throne because her ratings are sort of going up and down. So we have him. So we have a lot of red herrings into this, but as the show does, it does show you the villain in the very first opening act, and it turns out to be none other than Andre, who has secretly married Dawn, Jewell Porter's daughter, and but there's a twist. You think that Andre has been hired by the husband to get rid of Jewell for the inheritance, for their life insurance, but that's not the case. And so and the reason why Andre is such a bad guy, well, it comes into play in the last act of the episode. I will have to talk about a little bit about the cast a little bit. The guest cast is really strong. Elizabeth Wilson played Jewell Porter. She did a really fine job. Of course, we had a delightful turn by a gentleman named Maury Matheson, playing Jewell's rival, Nathan Bly. He was also a gossip reporter. And then the most surprising guest that we saw was none other than Ty Andrews, who played Tony Porter, who was Jewell's husband. Now, Ty Andrews, you might remember, some of you might remember, maybe the younger ones won't, but Ty Andrews starred as in the Mod Squad. Yep, he played Julie, Lynx, and Pete's boss. And so it was really cool seeing him on the show. I didn't even recognize him, to tell you the truth. I had to go back to when I did the research, and I saw, oh, wow, okay. So that was a lot of fun. It's a really fun episode, a lot of fun actors. And of course, the show being what it is, there was not so much magic this time as the pilot. There's a couple of scenes in there, but not too much. I do think that they're trying to establish the other characters, not relying too much on Amanda's abilities, and that's probably a smart play. So, all in all, it made for a little less magic, but a lot more of a mystery, because even though we know who the killer is, just like Columbo, in Columbo, we know who did it, but getting there, having our heroes discover who it is half the journey. So I really like this episode. Again, the show got off to a good start. So the first few episodes were a lot of fun, and away we go. So that's going to be it for Tubi Tuesday. And if you're new to the channel, consider liking me and the Cheetah. Hit the subscribe button. If you ever watched Tucker's Witch, yeah, tell us what you think of it. Tell us what you think of Catherine Hicks. Or if you're an Animal House fan like I am, you can talk a little to Matheson as well. But thank you for watching, and we'll be back for episode 3 of Tucker's Witch next week. All right, thanks for watching, and we will talk at you soon. Peace.